The red dust of Mars swirled against the dome's thick glass walls. Dr. Eleanor Wright watched it dance in the weak sunlight, her coffee growing cold beside her computer. She had been staring at the same strange symbols for hours now, trying to make sense of what her team had found deep beneath the Martian surface. 3 days ago, during a routine dig for the Mars terraforming project, they had discovered something that shouldn't exist. Hidden under layers of red rock was a sealed chamber, its walls covered in writing that matched no known human language. But that wasn't the most surprising part. The dating tests showed the chamber was over 50,000 years old. Eleanor picked up the small metal cube they had found inside the chamber. It was warm to the touch, despite the cold air in her office. Its surface was covered in the same strange symbols that now filled her computer screen. She had been studying it nonstop since they brought it back to the base. Dr. Wright. A soft knock at her door made her look up. Andy Carter, one of her younger team members, stood in the doorway. His eyes were wide with excitement. "You need to see this. The cube, it's doing something." Eleanor hurried after Andy to the main lab. The rest of her team stood around a testing chamber where they had placed a duplicate of the cube. This copy, made for safety testing, was glowing with a soft blue light. "It started about 5 minutes ago," said Rita Barnes, the team's physics expert. "After we exposed it to the same radiation levels found in the chamber where we found the original." As they watched, the cube's glow grew stronger. Suddenly, a beam of light shot out from its top, forming what looked like a three-dimensional star map in the air above it. But among the stars were symbols, and as Eleanor watched, the symbols began to change into English letters. "It's some kind of translation matrix," Eleanor whispered. "The Q is learning our language from our computers." The team watched in amazement as words began to form in the hologram. "We are the Sci-Fi," the message began. "To those who find this record, we offer both warning and hope." Eleanor quickly started recording as more text appeared. The message told an incredible story. The Sci-Fi were an ancient race of space travelers who had visited Earth thousands of years ago. They had found early humans and saw great potential in them. Through careful genetic experiments, they had enhanced human capabilities, especially in 2 areas: the capacity for warfare and the ability to make peace. But the message also spoke of a great divide among the Sci-Fi themselves. Their society had split into 2 groups. The warriors believed in preserving their original nature, including their capacity for both war and peace. The peacekeepers wanted to eliminate all aggressive tendencies from their species, believing it would lead to a perfect society. "The experiment we conducted on humanity was unique," the message continued. "Unlike our own species, humans were enhanced to maintain a natural balance between aggressive and peaceful tendencies. You are our greatest achievement, and perhaps our last hope." As Eleanor read these words, she felt a chill run down her spine. The message went on to explain that the Sci-Fi's divided society had led to conflict. The warriors and peacekeepers had separated, each taking different paths among the stars. "If you are reading this," the final line said, "then our experiment was successful. Humanity has survived and advanced enough to reach other worlds. But be warned, you may yet meet our children. The warriors and peacekeepers still exist among the stars, each carrying forward their vision of what our species should become. You, humanity, represent what we could have been, a balance between both extremes." The hologram flickered and died, leaving the lab in silence. Eleanor's mind raced with the implications of what they had just learned. Humans weren't just random products of evolution. They had been carefully engineered by an advanced alien race. And somewhere out there, the 2 factions of that race still existed. "Dr. Wright," Rita said, breaking the silence. "Look at this." She pointed to her tablet, which showed energy readings from the cube. "It's not just a message. These power signatures, I think it's some kind of beacon. When we activated it, we may have just announced our presence to both the warriors and the peacekeepers." Eleanor finished the thought. She walked to the window, looking out at the Martian landscape. Somewhere up there, among the stars, Two ancient factions of an alien race might be turning their attention toward humanity. The warriors, who embraced both conflict and peace, and the peacekeepers, who sought to eliminate all aggression. And humanity, created to balance both aspects, might soon be caught in the middle. Eleanor turned back to her team. We need to contact Earth immediately. The Space Defense Council needs to know about this. She picked up the original cube, its surface still warm under her fingers. If the Sidrani really are still out there, we need to be ready for either peace or war, or maybe both. As she began drafting her report, Eleanor couldn't help but smile at the irony. Humans had always wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they knew they weren't. And better yet, they knew why they were the way they were. Their capacity for both violence and compassion, for war and peace, wasn't a flaw. It was by design. The real question now was, what would happen when humanity's creators returned to check on their experiment? That night, as the Martian moons crossed the sky outside her window, Eleanor worked late into the night, documenting everything they had learned. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the edge of something enormous. Humanity had just discovered its true origins, but more importantly, they might soon meet the beings who had shaped their species. And if the message was right, humanity's balanced nature might be exactly what the divided Sidrani needed. The children of war and the children of peace might find in their creation, humanity, a way to bridge their ancient divide. Eleanor saved her report and sent it to Earth. Now all they could do was wait and watch the stars, knowing that somewhere out there, both warriors and peacekeepers might be heading their way. Humanity's next chapter was about to begin, and it promised to be unlike anything in their history. The red dust continued to swirl outside, but Eleanor barely noticed it now. Her mind was focused on the stars, visible through the thin Martian atmosphere. Somewhere up there, humanity's past was about to catch up with their present, and she had a feeling that when it did, the future would never be the same. 6 months had passed since the discovery on Mars. Captain Daniel Hayes stood on the bridge of the research vessel, Stellar Horizon, reading the latest update about Dr. Wright's findings. The Space Defense Council had sent his ship to patrol the outer edges of the solar system, watching for any sign of the Sidrani. Captain called out Linda Baker from her station at the radar controls. I'm picking up something strange. Her fingers moved quickly across her screen. It's a signal, sir. Very weak, but it's not one of ours. Daniel walked to her station, looking at the readings. After months of nothing but empty space, they finally had something interesting. Can you clean it up? Linda adjusted some settings, and a clear pattern emerged. It's a distress signal, sir. And she paused, double-checking her readings. It matches the frequency patterns Dr. Wright found in the Martian cube. The bridge went quiet. Everyone knew what this meant. Their first potential contact with the Sidrani. How far? Daniel asked. About 6 hours at full speed, sir. It's coming from the dark side of Neptune. Daniel didn't hesitate. Alert all stations. Lieutenant Pierce to the bridge. He turned to his navigation officer. Set course for that signal. Amanda Pierce arrived on the bridge a few minutes later. As the ship's first contact specialist and military psychologist, she had spent months studying the Sidrani messages from Mars. Her job would be crucial if they really did find aliens. The Stellar Horizon moved through space, its engines pushing it faster than any Earth ship had gone before. The crew was tense but ready. They had trained for this, but training was one thing. Real alien contact was another. 5 hours later, they got their first visual. The alien ship was huge, almost twice the size of the Stellar Horizon. Its dark hull absorbed the weak sunlight, making it look like a hole in space. But it was clearly damaged. Large tears showed in its side, and no lights shined from its windows. Life signs? Daniel asked. The ship's doctor, Peter Collins, checked his readings. Very faint, but yes. Multiple signatures, all in what appears to be some kind of suspended animation. They're alive, but barely. Sir, Linda called out again, her voice urgent. The ship's computer is broadcasting something. It's in English. A message played through the bridge speakers. This is the warrior vessel Star Seeker. Our children's fleet. Help them. Beware the peacekeepers. Amanda stepped forward. Captain, those life signs. They're all showing patterns similar to human children. I think we found a ship full of young warriors. Daniel made his decision. Prepare a rescue team. Dr. Collins, Lieutenant Pierce, you're with me. We need to get those kids out before. Sir. Linda's voice was sharp with alarm. Another ship just appeared on our sensors. It just came out of nowhere. And it's big. The new ship was beautiful in a strange way. Unlike the dark warrior vessel, this one shined like polished silver. Its design was smooth and perfect, without a single sharp edge. We are the peacekeepers, a calm voice announced over their communication system. We claim the children aboard the warrior vessel. Do not interfere. Daniel looked at Amanda. She shook her head slightly. Sir, if what Dr. Wright learned is true, we can't just hand over these children. The warriors sent them away for a reason. Agreed. Daniel opened a channel to the peacekeeper ship. This is Captain Hayes of the Earth vessel Stellar Horizon. We're responding to a distress signal. By space law, we're required to help. Your laws do not apply here, the calm voice replied. These children must be rehabilitated. It is for the greater good. While they talked, the rescue team had already started their work. Through the ship's windows, Daniel could see their shuttle approaching the warrior vessel. Time was running out. The children are in cryo-sleep, Daniel said to the peacekeepers. Moving them right now could kill them. Let us help them first. Then we can discuss what happens next. There was a long pause. Finally, the voice returned. You have 6 hours. After that, we will take them, with or without your cooperation. The rescue team entered the warrior ship. Inside, they found 30 cryopods, each holding a sleeping child. The ship's logs told a sad story. The warriors, facing defeat in their war with the peacekeepers, had sent their children away to save them from being fixed. Amanda worked quickly, helping Dr. Collins check each pod. The children inside looked almost human, except for their slightly blue-tinted skin and silver hair. The oldest looked about 14, the youngest maybe 6. They're all healthy, Dr. Collins reported. The pods kept them safe. We can wake them up, but we'll need to do it slowly, one at a time. They moved the pods to the stellar horizon. As the first child began to wake up, Amanda stayed close. The boy opened his eyes. They were deep purple and looked around in confusion. Hello, Amanda said softly. You're safe. My name is Amanda. We found your ship and came to help. The boy studied her face. You're human, he asked in perfect English. The ship's computer taught us your language while we slept. Are the peacekeepers here? Yes, but we won't let them take you, Amanda promised. Can you tell me your name? Rax, he said. I'm the oldest. The others, are they okay? They're all fine. We'll wake them up soon. Amanda helped him sit up. Rax, can you tell me why you were sent away? Rax's face showed both sadness and anger. The peacekeepers want to change us. They say our warrior nature is wrong, that it must be removed. But it's part of who we are. Our parents sent us away to save us. Over the next few hours, they woke up more of the children. Each one showed the same mix of strength and fear. They were warriors, but they were also just kids who had lost their homes and families. Captain Hayes watched through the medical bay window as Amanda worked with the children. The peacekeeper ship hung in space nearby, a constant reminder that time was running out. Sir, Linda's voice came over the intercom. Message from Earth. Dr. Wright is on her way. She says she has information we need about the Sidrani rehabilitation process. Daniel looked at the warrior children, now eating their first meal in what had probably been years. They laughed and talked like normal kids, but he could see their warrior nature in the way they stayed alert, protected each other, and kept watching the doors. The peacekeepers wanted to take that away from them. But looking at these children, Daniel couldn't see anything that needed to be fixed. They were exactly what they were supposed to be. Now he just had to figure out how to protect them when the 6 hours were up. Time was running out on the stellar horizon. 4 hours had passed since they rescued the warrior children, and the peacekeeper ship still waited nearby, its silver hull gleaming against the darkness of space. In the medical bay, Dr. Peter Collins stared at his computer screen in horror. He had been studying the medical records from the warrior ship, and what he found made his stomach turn. "Captain Hayes," he called over the intercom. "You need to see this. Now." Daniel arrived at the medical bay a few minutes later. Through the window, he could see Amanda Pierce sitting with the warrior children. They had woken up 12 of them so far, and each child seemed to be adjusting well to their new situation. "What did you find?" Daniel asked. Peter pointed to his screen. "These are records of previous rehabilitation attempts by the peacekeepers. They're not good, sir." He pulled up several files. The peacekeepers tried to change other warrior children before. They used something they called genetic reconstruction to remove aggressive tendencies. Did it work? Peter shook his head. The children didn't survive. Their bodies rejected the changes. Out of 50 attempts, 48 died. The other 2, he paused, they lived, but they weren't themselves anymore. The records say they lost all emotion, all drive. They just existed. Daniel felt cold anger building inside him. "And they want us to hand over these children for the same treatment." "Sir," Linda's voice came over the intercom. "The peacekeeper ship is hailing us again." Daniel walked to the nearest communication panel. "This is Hayes." "Captain," the calm voice from before said, "we are sending a representative to discuss the transfer of the children. Please prepare to receive our shuttle." Daniel looked at Peter, who shook his head firmly. "Sir," Peter whispered, "we can't let them take these kids." "Understood," Daniel said to the peacekeepers. "Our docking bay is ready." The peacekeeper shuttle was as elegant as their main ship. When its door opened, a single figure stepped out. The peacekeeper was tall and graceful, with pure white skin and silver hair similar to the warrior children. But where the children's eyes showed emotion and life, this being's eyes were empty and calm. "I am Kai," the peacekeeper said. "Thank you for caring for our lost ones." Amanda had joined them in the docking bay, standing slightly in front of the corridor that led to the medical bay. "They're not lost," she said. "They were sent away to protect them from you." Kai smiled, but the expression didn't reach those empty eyes. "They were sent away by those who didn't understand progress. We only wish to help them achieve peace. By killing them." Peter stepped forward, holding up his tablet. "We found the records. We know what your help does to these children." "Some loss is necessary for evolution," Kai said. "Those who survived the process found true peace." "They didn't find peace," Daniel said. "They were turned into empty shells." "That's not peace. That's death." A small sound made them all turn. Rax stood in the corridor behind Amanda. His purple eyes were fixed on Kai, showing no fear. "I remember you," Rax said quietly. "You came to our colony before we left. You took my friend Mira for rehabilitation. She never came back." Kai's perfect calm finally cracked, just a little. "She found peace. She died." Rax's voice echoed in the docking bay. "Our parents told us the truth. All the children you took died or were destroyed inside. That's why they sent us away. They knew you wouldn't stop until you killed everything that makes us who we are." "What we are is a mistake," Kai said. "The warrior strain must be corrected. It is the only way forward." Laura Martinez, the ship's communication officer, had been quietly working at a nearby console. "Captain," she said suddenly, "I finished translating more of the warrior ship's records. You need to hear this." She played a recording. A strong voice filled the docking bay. "The peacekeepers believe they can perfect our species by removing what they call the warrior strain. They don't understand that this strain, this part of us that can fight, that can feel passion and anger and love, it's not a flaw. It's what makes us alive. They'd forgotten that peace without the strength to defend it is just surrender. Kay's face showed the first real emotion they had seen. Anger. Those are the words of the unenlightened. The children must be cleansed of these dangerous ideas. No, Daniel's voice was firm. These children are under our protection now. Earth has laws about the rights of children, all children. We don't allow them to be subjected to dangerous medical procedures against their will. Your laws, Kai began. Our laws matter, Daniel cut in, because you activated first contact by entering our solar system. That puts this situation under Earth's jurisdiction, and we have very clear laws about protecting children from harm. Amanda stepped fully in front of Rax, shielding him. The other rescued children had gathered in the corridor behind them, watching silently. You would risk war to protect these children? Kai asked. We would risk war to prevent genocide, Daniel replied. That's what this is, the systematic destruction of a people's identity. We won't allow it. Kai looked at each of them in turn. Daniel's firm stance, Amanda's protective position, Peter's angry grip on his tablet, and the children's united front. Something almost like sadness crossed that perfect face. You are making a mistake, Kai said. These children carry the seeds of violence within them. They will bring war to your people. Maybe, Daniel said, but they also carry the capacity for love, loyalty, and courage. We'll take that chance. The Peacekeeper Council will not accept this. Then let them come, Daniel said. But they should know, humanity has both warrior and peacekeeper built into our DNA. If they start a war over these children, they'll learn exactly what that means. Kai turned and walked back to the shuttle. At the door, the peacekeeper paused. You don't understand what you're protecting. War and peace cannot coexist. They already do, Amanda said, reaching back to hold Rax's hand. In every human heart. That's what makes us strong. The shuttle departed, leaving the docking bay in silence. Daniel knew this wasn't over. The peacekeepers wouldn't give up easily, but looking at the warrior children, at their fierce eyes and brave faces, he knew they had made the right choice. What happens now? Rax asked. Now, Daniel said, we wait for Dr. Wright, and we prepare for whatever comes next. The children nodded, understanding in their eyes. They were warriors, born to face challenges. But now, they weren't facing them alone. They had found protectors who understood that true peace didn't come from erasing differences, but from finding the strength to defend them. Laura Martinez sat at her communication station, her eyes burning from staring at screens for hours. Around her, the bridge of the stellar horizon hummed with nervous energy. The peacekeeper ship still hung in space nearby, silent but threatening. I've got it, she suddenly called out, making several crew members jump. Captain, I've decoded more of the warrior ship's historical records. And it's worse than we thought. Daniel Hayes moved to her station, reading over her shoulder. The records told a dark story. Years ago, the peacekeepers had started their improvement program in secret. They had tested their genetic modifications on their own people first, creating the first empty-eyed, emotionless peacekeepers. They didn't just want to change the children, Laura explained. They planned to modify their entire species. The warriors fought back when they found out, but they were too late. Most of their people had already been changed. That's why they sent the children away, Amanda Pierce said from her station. She had been helping the warrior children settle into empty crew quarters. They were saving the last unchanged members of their species. The ship's intercom crackled. Bridge, this is docking control. Dr. Wright's shuttle is arriving. Daniel felt relief wash over him. If anyone could help them understand this situation better, it was the scientist who had first discovered the truth about the Sidrani. Eleanor Wright looked tired when she stepped onto the bridge, but her eyes were bright with excitement. Captain Hayes, she said, I came as soon as I got your message. Where are the children? Safe, Daniel assured her, but we have a situation. The peacekeepers want to rehabilitate them. Yes, I know. Eleanor pulled out a small device. The cube from Mars. That's why I brought this. There's more to the message it contains, but it only activates when Sidreni are nearby. I'm hoping the children can help us unlock it. They gathered in the ship's main conference room. Daniel, Eleanor, Amanda, Peter Collins, Laura, and Rax, who had become the spokesman for the warrior children. When Eleanor placed the cube on the table, it began to glow just like it had on Mars. It recognizes Rax's DNA, Eleanor explained as the hologram appeared. This is the full message, the part we couldn't access before. The story that unfolded in the hologram was both beautiful and sad. The Sidreni had once been a species of great passion and power. They had explored the stars, built amazing things, and felt everything deeply, both love and hate, peace and war. But some of them began to see their capacity for violence as a flaw rather than a part of their nature. The first peacekeepers believed they could perfect our species, the hologram explained. They forgot that our greatest achievements came from the fire within us, the same fire that could fuel both creation and destruction. When they found Earth and studied humans, they saw a chance to try again, to create beings who could balance both aspects of our nature. That's why they chose us, Eleanor said softly. We were their second chance. The message continued, explaining how the peacekeepers had grown stronger over time, converting more and more of their people. The warriors who resisted were pushed to the edges of their territory. Finally, they had made the painful choice to send their children away, hoping they would find sanctuary among the humans. The species engineered to balance what the Sidreni had lost. As the hologram faded, Rax spoke up. Our parents told us stories about Earth. They said humans were special because you could fight wars but also make peace. You could feel anger but also forgiveness. They said you were what we used to be. The cube suddenly pulsed with new light. Warning, it announced in a clear voice. Peacekeeper signal detected. Genetic modification beam charging. What? Daniel turned to Eleanor. What does that mean? The cube is picking up energy readings from the peacekeeper ship, Laura reported, checking her instruments. It's building up power for something big. Eleanor's face went pale. They're going to try to modify everyone on this ship. The beam must be strong enough to change DNA at a distance. They're not just after the children anymore. They want to fix all of us. How long? Daniel asked. 20 minutes until the beam reaches full power, Laura answered. Daniel looked around the room at his crew, at Dr. Wright, at Rax. They all looked back at him, waiting for his decision. The choice seemed impossible. Stay and risk being changed forever, or run and leave the warrior children to their fate. But then he remembered what the cube had said about humanity. They were engineered to balance war and peace. Maybe that's exactly what this moment needed. Laura, he said, open a channel to the peacekeeper ship. When she nodded, he spoke clearly. This is Captain Hayes. We know what you're planning. If you fire that modification beam at this ship, we will consider it an act of war against Earth. And trust me, you don't want that. Your threats are meaningless, Kay's voice replied. You cannot stop evolution. This isn't evolution, Eleanor cut in. It's extinction. You're trying to eliminate part of your own nature, but look what it's done to you. You've lost the ability to feel, to truly live. You've forgotten that peace without passion is just emptiness. The beam will fire in 15 minutes, Kai said. You cannot escape its range in time. Daniel smiled. Who said anything about escaping? He turned to his crew. Battle stations. The stellar horizon came alive with activity. It wasn't a warship, but every Earth vessel carried defenses. Another example of humanity's balance between peace and preparation. Sir, Laura called out, 3 more ships just appeared. Earth Defense Force vessels. They're hailing us. The face of Admiral Susan Chen appeared on the main screen. Captain Hayes, we picked up your distress signal. I see you've made some interesting new friends. Daniel quickly explained the situation. The Admiral listened, then smiled grimly. Well, we can't let them modify human DNA, can we? That would violate about a dozen Earth laws. Move your ship behind us, Captain. Let's show these peacekeepers that humanity remembers how to fight when we need to. As the Earth ships moved into position, Rax stood at the window watching. You're really going to fight for us? He asked quietly. No, Amanda said, putting a hand on his shoulder. We're going to fight for balance, for the right of every species to be who and what they are. That's what peace really means, not the absence of conflict, but the wisdom to know when to fight and when to talk. The cube on the table glowed brighter, as if agreeing with her words. In space, the Peacekeeper ship faced 4 Earth vessels, its modification beams still charging. The next few minutes would determine not just the fate of the warrior children, but possibly the future of 3 species. And humanity was ready to show the universe exactly what it meant to be the children of both peace and war. Space lit up with warning shots from the Earth Defense Force ships. The bright beams passed close to the Peacekeeper vessel, showing that humans knew how to aim their weapons with precision. 10 minutes until their modification beam reaches full power, Laura reported from her station. Admiral Chen's voice came through clear on the bridge speakers. Peacekeeper vessel, this is your final warning. Power down your weapons, or we will be forced to take action. The response came quickly. You do not understand, I said. We offer perfection. Why do you resist? Because perfection without choice isn't perfection at all. Eleanor Wright answered. She stood on the bridge of the stellar horizon, holding the Martian cube. It's just another form of violence. The cube in her hand suddenly grew warm. Its surface shifted, revealing new patterns that no one had seen before. A beam of light shot out, creating a huge hologram visible to all the ships. In the hologram, they saw the history of the Sidrani play out. But this time, they saw something new. Scenes of the species at its height, when they had balance. They were beautiful then, capable of both fierce passion and gentle peace. Their art, their music, their discoveries, all came from the blend of warrior spirit and peaceful wisdom. Look at what you've lost, Eleanor said to the peacekeepers. Look at what you were before you tried to make yourselves perfect. On the screen, Kai's face showed the first real crack in that perfect calm. The past was chaos. We found a better way. Did you? Amanda Pierce stepped forward. She gestured to Rax and the other warrior children who had gathered on the bridge. These children still have what you lost. And look at them. They're not just warriors. They can laugh, cry, love, and yes, fight when they need to. Just like us. 7 minutes to beam activation, Laura warned. Admiral Chen's voice hardened. Power down your weapons, or we will fire. This is not a bluff. The cube's hologram changed again. Now it showed scenes from Earth. Humans building cities, making music, fighting wars, and making peace. It showed their struggles and triumphs, their ability to be both fierce and gentle. The experiment was successful. Eleanor read from new symbols appearing on the cube. Humanity carries the balance that the Sidrani lost. They are the bridge between what was and what could be again. Suddenly, a new voice came over the communication system. It was another peacekeeper, but this one sounded different. Less empty, more alive. Kai, we're receiving the hologram on our ship. The crew, they're remembering. The genetic blocks are breaking down just from seeing these images. We're starting to feel again. Impossible, Kai said, but there was uncertainty in that perfect voice. 5 minutes, Laura reported. Daniel Hayes stepped forward. You have a choice, Kai. You can fire that beam and start a war you might not win. Or you can look at what these images are showing you, a way back to what your people lost. The warrior strain is dangerous. Kai insisted, but the words sounded hollow. Yes, it is, Amanda agreed, just like fire is dangerous. But without fire, How do you stay warm? How do you create? How do you light the darkness? 3 minutes. More voices came from the peacekeeper ship. Confused, emotional voices. The hologram was affecting their whole crew, breaking through generations of genetic manipulation. Kai, the first emotional peacekeeper, said, "I remember now. I remember what it was like to feel joy, to feel love. Please, don't take this away from us again." The tension in space stretched tight as a wire. The Earth ships held their positions, weapons ready. The warrior children watched with hope and fear in their eyes. And somewhere on the peacekeeper ship, Kai had to make a choice. 1 minute to beam activation, Laura said quietly. The cube's hologram showed one final scene. A possible future where warriors, peacekeepers, and humans work together, each bringing their own strengths to create something new. Power levels dropping, Laura reported suddenly. They're shutting down the modification beam. On the screen, Kai's perfect face showed something that looked almost like tears. What have we done to ourselves? The peacekeeper whispered. You tried to make yourselves better, Eleanor said gently. But you forgot that real peace isn't about removing the capacity for war. It's about choosing when not to use it. Over the next few hours, more and more peacekeepers began to break free from their genetic blocks. The cube's images had awakened something long buried in their DNA, the memory of what they used to be. It will take time, Eleanor explained to the children. Their bodies and minds need to remember how to feel. But they can come back. They can find balance again. Rax looked up at her with hope in his purple eyes. Can we help them? Yes, Amanda said. You and humanity. We can show them the way back to who they were meant to be. The Earth Defense Force ships stayed nearby as the peacekeepers began their long journey of recovery. Many of them were scared of their returning emotions, but the warrior children showed remarkable patience in helping them. It's like waking up from a long sleep, one peacekeeper said, watching the children play. We thought we were making ourselves perfect, but we were just making ourselves less alive. A month later, the stellar horizon returned to Earth. The warrior children came with them, ready to start their new lives. Some of the recovering peacekeepers came too, eager to learn from humanity how to balance their rediscovered emotions. At the landing ceremony, Eleanor Wright stood with Amanda Pierce and Captain Hayes, watching Rax teach some Earth children a warrior game while nearby. A former peacekeeper smiled at the sound of laughter. You know what's funny? Amanda said. The Sidharani created us to be an experiment in balance. But in the end, we helped them find their own balance again. Maybe that's real evolution, Eleanor suggested. Not changing yourself to match some idea of perfection, but learning from each other, growing together. And sometimes, Daniel added, watching a group of warrior children showing a recovering peacekeeper how to dance, the best way to make peace is to accept that we all have a little war inside us. It's what we choose to do with it that matters. The cube from Mars sat in a display case nearby, its work done. It had carried a message across thousands of years, helping 3 peoples find their way to a new future, one where peace and war could coexist, where balance was found not in perfection, but in choice. And on that day, as humans, warriors, and awakening peacekeepers celebrated together under Earth's sky, it seemed that evolution had found a new path, one that led not to empty perfection, but to the kind of peace that comes from embracing all parts of who you are.